Hi there, Bootstrap 4 is here and it is going to be the delight of the web designers as it offers a variety of options to customize the website by using Flexbox and Sass. We have seen in my previous video tutorial number 7 how an e-commerce website can be redesigned from Bootstrap 3 to Bootstrap 4 by making use of the changes brought about in Bootstrap 4. In this video, we will see how to design this beautiful travel website by using the elements offered by Bootstrap 4. This is only a dummy site, and as you are aware, Bootstrap 4 is still in alpha stage. It would not be advisable to use it commercially till the final version is released. The purpose of this tutorial is to give us an idea what Bootstrap 4 has to offer and how convenient it will be for web designers to make full use of this version when it finally gets released. So this is the website we are going to create from scratch. I will be using Dreamweaver CC 2017 as the text editor. You may use any text editor of your choice. Now coming to Dreamweaver, you will see that I will not go into the basics of setting up the initial coding of the page, as I have already covered the same in my previous video tutorial number 7 on e-commerce website. In case of necessity, you can refer it there. I have kept ready the index file. I have already saved this index file. Like I have created a folder on desktop with the name of travel, and inside this desktop, these are the folders that we have created. Like CSS is the CSS file which is copied from getbootstrap.com, and similarly JS file also. These are the Bootstrap CSS and JS files. And as regard the images, I have grouped the images like these are the images slider for the carousel, and these will be for the images which are used in the example, and these are the images which are used for the card group, and this is the image which is going into the backdrop. So having kept this background ready, and also as you can see, I have given it the site a title of travel SPL site. This is a dummy title. These codes, as you can see, for bootstrap.css and JS, these codes are available if you come to getbootstrap.com and in the Bootstrap 4. Like if you come here, you find Bootstrap 4. If you click on that, it opens this page, and if you come to the documentation and the getting started introduction, you have quick start, and below that you also have the starter template. So you can use this is the CDN version for CSS, and this is the CDN version for JavaScript, which I have used it here. This is for the CSS and this is for the JavaScript. So having kept all that ready, let's come to the example. Like you can see here, the page has got a scrolling effect. As you can see, it has got a scroll effect with the background image, fixed background image, and a navigation on top. You have got brand name. We have the brand name on the left side and the navigation on the right side on top, followed with the heading and also a layover window with the image and text, followed by a carousel, and then we have some text here, and this is a columnar layout, like card column. We are going to use the card column, so layout of these 6 columns, and this we are going to use the card group for placing this 3 images, and then these 4 column layout, and finally we have the footer. So let's see first how to design the top part. Let's start initially with the navigation. As you can see, there is a background image over which the navigation is built. For placing the background image, let me first define a main class. I would name something like back img for a back image, and close that class of main. inside this class of main. Now let's define the class of container. Let's define a class of container. Come and close that class of container. Now inside this container, now we need to build this navigation bar and also the brand. So for doing that, I am going to grab the nav bar code from my previous website of ecom. Like this is the code that we have for navigation bar in econ. So I am going to copy this entire code and then come and paste it here, and then go on carrying the corrections, particularly in the navigation items. But this is not a cause for alarm, because this similar code is available in the bootstrap.com site. Like if you come to bootstrap.com and Bootstrap 4 is coming, you click on that, come to documentation, and then come down to the components here, and inside that you will find the nav bar. You click on the nav bar, and if you come down and to the nav aspect here, now this is the code that is available for the navigation bar. You can just copy it from here and then paste it and customize it. So I have taken the code from my previous website, so I am going to customize it as it is required here. So the first thing I am going to do here is change the brand name. So this one I am going to change it to Travel SPL. And then the navigation items, like if I see in my original site, I have the navigation of home, tours, packages, and contact. We've got to change it, like here we have home, products, about us, and contact us. Now these are the navigation items I have just copied from the previous website. So let's go on changing this. So first of all, I don't want the drop down products. So this LI item of drop down, the entire thing I'm going to delete it, and instead of that I'm going to copy this LI and paste it on top here and change this description to tours, and the next one will be packages, and the last one is contact us. So these are the 4 navigation items, and if I save this now and refresh, you can see these are the 4 navigation items visible here, and this is the brand name. Now if you see here, this navigation bar has got a light background color. That is because we have selected nav bar light, background faded, BG faded. So to remove that background color, because we would not be needing that background color, let's use this class, nav class, and then come and define a style sheet. So whatever changes we need to make in our website, we have to define our own style sheet. For defining our style sheet, let's come to Windows and select the CSS designer. If it is already open, you can take it up from there, and then click on the plus button, and here it says create a new CSS file, and then come to browse, and here you select that CSS folder, because we want that file to be placed inside the CSS folder, and name that file like something like style, and the .css will be taken by Dreamweaver. Say save, and then click on OK. You will observe that Dreamweaver has opened the file style.css, a blank file, and also in the source code you will find that it has attached that file. You can see here the style.css, it attached to the HTML file. Let's come and close this. Now having attached the style sheet, let's come and save it, and the next thing that we need to do is save this site. Now for saving the site, let's come to site, select new site, and here we name it as travel, and then select the folder. You select the folder travel, and here it says select folder, and then they save. Now Dreamweaver will save the files and folders in the site name of travel. So let's come and close this. Now that being done, so now we can go on to changing the background color. Like we see the background, light background color here. As I said earlier, for changing the background color, we need to select this class. navbar toggleable SM. But before that, when it comes to style sheet here, there are some global commands we need to give for Bootstrap sites to work correctly. So the global commands we need to give first is for the HTML and the body, both. We need to first define a height. We can make it 100%. You can express it as 100% or 100 viewport height. So I'm going to define it as 100 viewport height. You can define it 100% also. Now the height property is required because the body looks to its parent HTML. How to scale the dynamic property? So the HTML element needs to have its height defined. Similarly, the contents of the body also need to be dynamically changed. So we need to define the height to be 100% or 100 VH. So next property that we need to define is for images, IMG. Here we need to define a max width. This is to align to the different viewports. Here we say 100%. The images should scale to 100% of the viewport. And another command that I would like to give is for the H1. I would like to select a specific font for the H1. Now the font family, I would say Alerta Stencil. Now this Alerta Stencil is a Google font. So I will come to that how to get the Google font. So here we say sans serif. So this is so far as the global commands are concerned. Let's come and save. Okay. After that, we need to now define the media query for the different viewports. Like the media query, the first media query that we define is for the smallest viewport. Like say at media, the smallest viewport is for the mobile font with a max width of 575 pixels. And next will be at media, the min width would be 576 pixels, and the max width, let us say 767 pixels. Now this 576 pixels to 767 pixels is the SM. This is the XX media query. This is for SM. And the next one, let's copy this and go on changing the min width and max width. Next will be 768 pixels. This will be MD to 991 pixels. After MD, we will have 992 pixel min width, and max width will be 1199 pixels. This is LG, and the next one will be min width 1200 pixels, and there is no max width. So all viewports above 1200 pixels will be governed by this media query. So these are the different media queries where we define, and then depending on how we want the customization to be done for each of these media queries, we can go on adding the codes. Now having done that, now the first item that we need to define here is the navbar toggler SM. Copy this code, come to the style sheet, and at the end here, put a dot, paste that code, and put a dot and a backspace. Now here, navbar toggler SM. I would say the background, we want none. If I save this now and refresh the browser, you find the background is gone. In 1200 pixels it is gone. If I come to the smaller viewports, here also you find it is gone. So for all the viewports, you find this, the background color is gone. So that means the command which is given here at the bottom applies globally to all the viewports. Now specific to any viewport, then we need to add them here. So let's go on continuing now. Having removed the background color for the nav bar, next what we need to do is define the background image. Like here we have the class of main class of back img. So now we need to come and define this class of back img. So if I put a dot here and then paste that code of back img, and how now I define the back img class to be background image. We say URL that since we are in the CSS, so you have two dots and a forward slash, and then we say images, and then the image that we are going to use here. Image which we are going to use here is Europe. This is the image. Let's come and define that. So inside images we have Europe.jpg. This is the image that we are going to use. And for background, repeat. Since this image is going to be a background image, so we will say repeat at x axis, and then next we will say background attachment. Background attachment. This one we want it to be fixed because we want the items over that to be scrolling, and then give it a background position. We will say fix. We will say background position, the center and center. We want the image to be centered. Then next we will have the background size. Let's say cover. Next would be position. Here we need to define the position to be relative, so that the other items we are going to post it over this image. So the position of this image is going to be defined as relative, and then give it a height. Let's define it a height of say 650 pixels, so that the image doesn't spread over that, and then define it a width of say 100%. Although we have already said IMG is 100%, still let's define the width to be 100%, and then define it a margin to the bottom. Let's say 2 rem. Save this now, and if I come and refresh the browser, when you refresh the browser, you will see that this is the brand name Travel SPL. It is not very legible, clearly visible. That's because it is in black color. And then we have the menu items here, navigation items. So we are going to change the color of those navigation items. Let's come to that next. So now that we have defined this background image, now if I come to a smaller viewport, like here, you see that the image size is too large. Although we have the Travel SPL nav brand on top of it, but then the image size is very large. So we need to contain this. Now for containing it in the smaller viewport, this class of back IMG, we need to copy this and come to the smallest viewport of 575 and paste it there, and see what changes we need to make. Like particularly what we need is the height. We need to reduce the height, let's say to 310 pixels. Come and save this and then see. Refresh the browser. You find that the image size is not reduced. Now this is because the command we have given here is global. So unless we make it viewport specific, this is going to be acting globally for all the viewports. So we don't want that. So what we need to do is cut this code from here and come and paste it first in the 1200 pixels. That's the minimum height of 1200 pixels. Now if I save it and then refresh the browser, now here you see the height has come down. Now here the height is 310 pixels as we have defined it here. Now will this be positioned in the other viewports? Like if I come to Google Nexus, you find the background image is not visible at all. That is because we have not pasted the code in the other viewports. So, uniformly we need to come and paste it in all the viewports so that the background image will be visible, and make any suitable changes that may be required. Now, in all the viewports, suppose you face this and then save it and then refresh. You can see the image in the larger viewports also. Like this is 960, and if you go to higher, you can see the image scaling, and if you come to lower, you can see the image shortening. So, anywhere between above 575, you find the image going up, the full scale, and below 575, you find the image getting to 310 pixels. This is how the image will be scaling. Now, having done that, the next item for us to do is change the font color of the brand item and also the navigation items. For changing the color, let's come to the first item that we have for the navigation item is collapse navbar collapse. Now, this is the div class collapse navbar collapse. Under this div, we have UL, LI, and A and then navlink. So, the navigation items, all these 4 navigation items are inside the collapse navbar collapse UL, LI, A dot navlink. So, let's come and define that class. Copy this code, come to the style sheet. Let's first put it globally and then see, paste that, and then say UL, LI, anchor items, and inside that anchor item we have navlink. Put a curly bracket and ensure that there are no gaps here. Put a dot and a backspace to define the class. Now, the first navigation items, for the navigation items, we want the color of the font to be white. Let me come and save this and then see. And you can see that these 3 items, the font color has changed to white, but not for the home. That is because for home carries an additional class. If you come to the source code, you find the home carries an additional class of active. Now, we need to define this class also. So, what we do is copy this entire code, Control C and then Control V, and after the ULLI, we add that class of active and then come and save this and refresh again, and you have the home item also, the color changing to white. Coming to the brand name, we need to change that font color. As you can see, the brand name is coming under the class nav or brand, but this is the anchor class. It is not coming under a specific div, it is simply an anchor class. So, let us first define a class under which this nav or brand we can go and correct. So, for coming to the container, here I will define a class like some my nav. Now, this class of my nav, let us come to the style sheet and define it. Come to the bottom here and put a dot and paste that code my nav. Now, under this my nav class, we have anchor, a class navbar brand. So, we will have to take it as my nav, a class navbar brand. Coming to the style sheet here, we define that my nav, say a dot navbar brand. Under this, now we define the color. The color we want it to be white. Save it, and if I refresh the browser now, you can see the color of the brand item has changed into white. Now, we need to increase the font size of this brand item and also the navigation items. Let us come to that. Now, under the same class, now let us define the font size. Like font size, we want it to be say 2 rem for the brand item. Come and save this and then refresh. You find the font size has increased for the brand item. So, similarly, let us do it for navigation items. For the navigation items, we need to tackle this class of collapse navbar, collapse ULLIA navlink. Under this, let's come and define the font size. If I say 1.2 rem, save it and then refresh and see, you can see the font size of the navigation item also has increased. Now let's change their hover color. For changing the hover color, first let's use this class collapse navbar, collapse ULLIA navlink, copy it and then paste it here, and at the end we say hover and then put a curly bracket, and for the hover we want the color of the text to be changing to orange. Save it and refresh and see. You can see that the hover color of all the navigation items has suitably changed. Coming to the navbar brand. For navbar brand, we have this class, my navbar brand. So let's copy this, come and paste it here, and then at the end we'll say hover and copy that same color. Control C and Control V. Save it and refresh it. Now you can see the hover color for the navbar brand item is undergoing change. Now one thing you would have observed that these navigation items are not very clearly visible because of the background. Now the background we have set here is position center center. Because we have placed it to center center, the image is properly centered. Whereas the image background image looks nice, but it is hampering the view of the navigation items. For that, let's change the position, say top center center. Let's say let the image come from the top, and now if you refresh, now you see that the navigation items and the brand items are properly visible. So we'll retain this position. So let's come and change it for the others as well. So we'll have uniformity everywhere. Top center center. Top center center. Okay. Let's come and save this now. And refresh again. Fine. This looks fine. Now let's see how this page so far will look in the smaller viewports. Like if I use Control Shift and M, the shortcut key, you can see that the brand name is visible here, but the navigation icon, the drop down icon, is not visible at all. So first we need to now change the navigation icon. So for changing the navigation icon, if you come to the source code here, you will see that the span class navbar toggler icon. Now this the navbar toggler icon will provide a 3-lined sandwich icon, whereas in this case we don't want a sandwich icon. We want the insert the text of menu. So for that, if I use the class of say drop menu, and then say here menu, the text menu, and save it. And if I refresh the browser now, you can see that menu text is visible here, but it is in black. So first let's change its color so that we will be able to see it and align it. And one more thing I would have observed here is that while copying the data, this data toggle, there is a gap in between data and toggle. So let's bring it up by one space and then come and check it again. Yeah, okay. Now that let's come and change the color of the toggle item. Do that, let's use this class drop menu, and this, as you will see, is only for the smallest viewport. So if I copy this class, come to the style sheet and select the smallest viewport, that is media max 575, and put a dot here and then paste that code, drop menu, and inside here. Now let's define the code. First of all, we want the color to be white. let's provide it a little padding of say 0.2 rem, and also we would like to provide it a border around it. Let's say border 1 pixel solid, let's say CCC, and having given a border, let's also provide it a border radius, so that will be rounded off radius, let's say same 0.2 rem. Font size for the drop menu, or that menu item, let's slightly reduce the font size, say 1.5 rem. Okay, now let's come and save this and refresh. Now you can see that the menu item is visible with a small border around it with sufficient padding, and then these are the drop down items. This is how the menu will work. Now the menu and the travel SPL are not in alignment, so we can still, I think, reduce the font size. Let's make it a 1.2 rem. Repeat it. Okay, this should be fine. Now this travel SPL, we have to push it up a little. So for that we need to target that navbar brand. The navbar brand, we have the code here. Let's copy this and come to the smallest viewport, because these changes are going to do in the smallest viewport. So here we'll paste that code. My navbar brand, and here we will say the font size, we want to make it say 1.2 rem to align with that of the icon, and then font weight, because it is a brand, we will say 600, and also define it a color. The color, we want it to be white, and we want to push this item slightly to above. So we say margin to the top and give it a negative margin, minus say 0.7 rem. Let's come and check this up now. Align the code. Okay, save it and check it up. Now you can see that the menu item and the brand name are almost in alignment. Now when I drop in here, you find the navigation items coming down. So like if you still want this travel SPL to go slightly higher up, then the negative margin, you can make it to say 0.8 rem, and then see how it fits in. Yeah, this should be fine. It's coming in alignment now. So this is the smallest viewport, and then as you go on increasing, you find that at 768 it breaks into navigation bar, and when it comes to smaller viewports, you find it is getting into the icon. Yeah, this completes the navigation item. Next we move on to the heading and other aspects. The heading is travel with us, with the orange text color and a hover color of white. So let's go on defining this. Now the font for this particular heading, as I've already said earlier, for the H1, I selected the font Aletta Stencil. Now this is a Google font. If you go to the font.google.com, you will find this code for the Google font. If you have to copy this code from the font.google.com site, and then you come to the source code and paste that before the header, so that the font will be available online. Save it. Having done that, let's come to the heading. So inside the container, after the navigation, let's build that heading. For that, first let's define a class of container. Now this container will be inside the earlier container. This also, let's close it as a container. And inside this container, now let's define the H1 heading. Now the content for the H1 will be travel with us. And let's provide a class to the H1. The class, now the font type I want for the H1 is display-3. Now these are the Bootstrap 4 font styles. So if I use this display 3 and also give it an additional class of say heading, let's come to defining that class heading later, and save this. If you refresh the browser now, you will see that the heading appears here, but that is by default in black. So let's change its color and also position it wherever we want it. So for that, let's take this class of heading, select this class, then come to the style sheet and come and put a dot here and paste that code heading. And inside this, first we need to define the position as absolute, because this is sitting over the background image. And then we will position it like from top, so 200 pixels, and from the left we want it to be around 260 pixels. Then the color of the font, we need it to be orange, and also font weight, let's provide the font weight of bold. Let me come and save this and then refresh the browser. Now here you see, you have the heading, travel with us. Let's provide it hover effect. As you can see, this is the Aletta stencil font. Giving it a hover effect, let's come and add that class of heading hover. And for hover, we want the color to be white. Save it and refresh again. Now when you hover, you will find the color turning into white. Here the white color turns into orange, and here the orange color turns into white. So this is how the heading will be positioned. This is in the larger viewport. Now when you come to the smaller viewport, if I shift, Control Shift and M, now here you see that the heading is sitting at way far ahead, because we have condensed the image, and the positioning what we gave here is on the global front. So even if I change this for the smaller viewport, like for example, just for the example, if I copy this and come to the smaller viewport of 575, and if I paste it here and change the top position and from the left position to 26, just for the example, and if I save this and then refresh for the smaller viewport, you will see nothing is happening. That is because then you need to change it for the from the global thing. If you remove this and paste it in the 1200 and then save it and refresh, now you will find the heading coming up. But then what will happen is, if you keep this, then when you click on the menu, you see that this is getting pushed down. So this is not an advisable thing, because these are drop down menus. So for smaller viewports, there's an alternative for us that okay, let's get back to this, bring it to the original position here, and also remove it from the 575. This is only for explaining it that I have done it. Save it. Okay, coming back to the source code. Now here what we can do is hide this. Like the container, if I give this caption, they say hidden dash sm dash down. That means all viewports below 767, this will not be visible. If I save it now and refresh, you come to a smaller viewport, you find the heading is gone. Now when you click on the menu drop down, you find the menus coming up properly here. That is why it is not better to add anything here in the smaller viewports. If required, you can reduce even the size of the image, but then what will happen is the drop-down menus will require this much of space. So we will keep it at least for smaller viewports, but as and when the viewports increase, size increases, you will find the heading appearing. So this is how the heading is defined. Next we move on to this layover item of this box, which has the image on the left side and the text on the other side. Let's see how to define this. So coming to the source code here, inside the container of the main, all these items we are going to put it inside the main container. Here we define the class of card. Like here I will define the class of card dash box. This is the div of card dash box. This is not the Bootstrap card, but this is a div that I'm going to name it as card dash box. Now inside this div class of card dash box, let me define another div of I'll call it discount. These are the names of the divs. Discount, and inside this div class of discount, first I will lay the image, and in the second div I am going to lay the text. So the first div class of discount, I am going to insert that image imgsrc. Now the image, if I go to the images folder, we have this image of Europe 1. So let's select this image, say OK, and then give it an alt description of say Europe, and then give it a class of img fluid, so that the image aligns to the different viewports. Okay, we can see that the image is already placed here. So the next we define the div class of, let's say, discount 1. This is the second div I am going to define, discount 1. Now inside this div, now I am going to insert the text. Now the text I will put it inside the paragraph. 10% discount on Grand Tour of Europe. This is the text that I am going to give, and also add some more text. Let's say hurry, book now. Okay, now that I have defined the text and the columns, if I come and save this and refresh the browser and see, you can see that this whole image is appearing here and the text is coming below. Now we need to customize this through the CSS. For that, we need to first give the classes. This card dash box, I am going to define another class of text, and along with that I am going to hide this as I have done for the heading. You say hidden dash sm dash down. That means this will not be visible in SM and XS viewports, small viewports. Now we have to define the different classes. The first one you will say card box, second one is text, and then we have discount, and then we have discount 1. So all these different classes. Let's come and now define. So first come into card dash box. Let's select this, come to the style sheet, come down here and put a dot and paste it, and inside the curly bracket. Now let's say the width of this we want it to be say 70% of the div. The width we want it to be 70% of the div, and the position will be absolute because it is lying over the background image. Then from the top we want the box to be placed about 300 pixels from the top, and from the left, let's say 200 pixels, and then we'll also give it a background of say RGBA, and here we say 34 0.8, so that it will have some opacity. Close it. Then the color of the text, we want it to be white. Okay, let me close this. So let's come to the next one, that is the text. The next class that we have is the text. Now the text, we want to define the width to be 90%, and then we want the text to be aligned to the center. And we'll also say overflow to be hidden. And define it a height. That box will define it a height of say 11 rem. If I come and save this now, you see it is taking a shape. This box has now taken shape. The only thing is we need to further push it down and to the left. So we have given on the top 300. So let's push it down by another 100. Make it 400. Make it 400. Save it and refresh. You can see it has come down. This should be okay, but push it to the left. So left we have said 200. Let's say if I make it 100, save it, and then you can still bring it slightly to the left. Let's make it say 80 pixels. Save it again, and if I refresh, okay, this should be fine. Now we have to align the image and the text. Now image is already there. Let's go on to aligning the text. Now for the text, the classes we are given for both image and text is first one for the image we are given is discount. The class we have defined here is discount. Let's first come and define that class of discount. Discount and discount 1. As you can see that the image will be for the discount and the text will be for discount 1. So we are going to define a certain percentage place for the image and the remaining percentage for the text. So for the discount, I will define the width to be say 35%, and for the text I can define the remaining 65. And we would like to float this to the left so that we want the items to align together. Then next I will define discount 1. This is for the text. So discount 1, here I will define the width to be 65%, and this also will float it to the left. If I save this now and refresh and then see, okay, the image and the text column, image is perfectly designed, but the text, we need to change the font size and other thing and align the text. So coming to that, the text is under the paragraph, under discount 1 paragraph. For the paragraph, let's first come and define the discount 1 P for paragraph. Now for this we will define the font family. Font family, let's say I will select Constantina. You can select any font that is available, and then you give the font size, I will say about 2 rem, and padding of say 2 rem. If I save this now and then have a look at it, here you see. Now this text, we need to style it up a little, like give it a different color for hurry and book now. So for doing that, come to the source code here. and define a span class. The first 10% discount, for this we define a span class of let's call this text dash discount. This is just class names I am defining, and then come and close it here. And for the second lot of text, we define the second span class. We call this text shade, and close that span here. Okay, now we have two more classes to describe on. First is the text discount. We come to the style sheet here and then describe that class of text dash discount. Here I will give it opacity effect, like say color. I would say RGBA and make it say 255, 255, 255, 0.7. And for the text shade, the next class of text dash shade, we define the color of say RGBA. Here we need to define the color combination of 253, 149, 15 and 0.6. Okay, let's come and save this now and then see. Here we are. So this is how the box containing the image on the left side and the text on the right side will be placed along with the heading. This is in the larger viewport. Now if I come to the smaller viewport, we have already defined in the source code itself that it would not be visible in the smaller viewports. Like when we said that hidden SM down, both the heading as well as the box, both of them will not be visible in the smaller viewport. So as the size of the viewport increases, now here you find the heading and the text box appearing. Like if you come down to another viewport, like Google Nexus 7, this is at 960, you find the alignment is not correct. So whichever viewport the alignments require some correction, then what we need to do is that code, what we have defined here for the card box onwards, the entire code. If you copy this, then paste it in the respective viewport. Like it is 960 will be coming under this viewport, 768 to 991. If I come and paste it here and then save it and refresh and see, it requires the height of this heading item to be lesser. So for that the top that we are given for the card box is to 400. If I make it 300, save it and then refresh, now you find that the heading has gone up. So this way we can align it to each of the viewports. Like if you come to iPad mini 1024 by 768, this is how the item will align. So we can go on aligning depending on the requirement of each of the viewports. I am not going to great details on that. So this is how the background image, the navigation, the heading and the layover box can be placed. So we move on to the next item now. Next we move on to the carousel. Like we have the carousel here. This carousel, the entire code is available in my previous video on e-commerce. So I am not going to repeat the whole thing step by step. I am going to grab that entire code for the carousel and then paste it in the source code. So for that this is the code for carousel. So I am going to copy this and then paste it. So this includes the entire carousel. Let's come and save this, and if I refresh the browser, You can see we have the carousel available here. So we need to give some space at the bottom. So let me add a blank div class of space. Let's define this blank div space. So coming down here, if I specify the class of space, and we'll say padding to the top, 2 rem. Save it and refresh again. Now you find there is a padding at the bottom. Now you can see the carousel properly. The only requirement here is that when this carousel in Firefox is fitting in properly, but when it comes to Chrome, if you see here, you can see the carousel image is getting spread out. That means the height of the carousel image here in Chrome is more than in Firefox. To avoid this problem, then what we do is define a height, uniform height to the carousel image. Now the carousel image, as you can see, is coming under carousel item. So this is the class. So let's copy this class, carousel item, and coming to the min width 1200, let's define it here, because we need that only for larger viewports. So put a dot there and paste that carousel item code, and then define the IMG, because we are restricting it to the image. Height we are restricting to the image. Here we say max height. Let us say 30 rem, so that in all viewports it will be 30 rem for the viewports which are greater than 1200. So if I save this now and refresh, in Firefox it not made any difference, but when it comes to Chrome, you find the image is now properly aligned. So this is how we can align the images in the different viewports, giving them max height. Now coming to the code as such, there is no cause for alarm. Like if you come to getbootstrap.com and click on Bootstrap 4 and click on documentation, come down to the components here, and here you will find carousel. If you click on carousel, you will find the code is also available here, depending on which sort of carousel you would like to use, and you can use this copy to clipboard option on the type of carousel you want, and then go on customizing the way it is required. I have taken it from my previous video, so I am not going to repeat it again. So this is the carousel insofar as larger viewports concerned. When it comes to smaller ones, like we see here, in smaller viewports you find the heading and the text is going right to the top. So this image which is fluid shrinks according to the viewport size. So for smaller viewports, here also we need to define the specific height of the image. So for that, let's come down to the smallest of viewport, 575, and here we will define a height to the carousel item IMG. We will say height would be 8 rem. Save it and then refresh now. Now here we see, now the carousel properly visible. Like this is the scrollers, this is the buttons, everything is working fine. So this completes the carousel. Next we move on to the 2-column layout of text below the carousel. For that, coming to the source code, after the div class of space, let's first define a div ID of let's say section dash places dash 2 dash C. If this is the div ID for section, let's close this div ID of section. Now inside this div ID of section, let's now go on defining first a container. Close the container. and then we place a row, close the row. Inside the row, now we need to define two columns of 6 each. So we'll divide them into column 6 each. Like if I specify to call MD6, that means for all viewports of MD and above, it runs into two columns, and below that, like SM and XS, it will be single column. So if I say call MD6, and then close this column, copy this div and paste it for the second div column of 6, column D6. So now we go on placing the text inside a paragraph. So for the text, I have some sample text here. So I'm going to grab it, this particular text, copy it, and then come and paste it in the inside the paragraph. This is only a sample text, and the same text, for the sake of the example, I am going to paste it in the second one also. So first let's save this and then see how it looks. Like these are the two columns text. This is in the larger viewports. If I come down to the smaller one, you can see this is how the text will align. You can see the scrolling effect taking effect here, and the text is visible in this. And coming to the Google Nexus 960 pixels, you can see this is the effect that is taking place. Now 960 pixels, it is not set in properly correctly. We still find that problem between the heading and the box. So to resolve that, if we come to the CSS here, the heading, class of heading and heading hover, this let's cut it off from here and first paste it inside the 1200 larger viewports, and then also paste it inside the 991 pixels, so that the viewports where we need the customization, this can be properly taken care of. And then if you save it now, you find not much of a difference, but the heading top height, if you give it instead of 200, if you give 100 pixels from the top, and now if you save it and refresh, you find the heading aligning to the middle. So at 960, this is how it aligns, and 1280, this is how it aligns. So this is the two column layout. Having completed that, next we can move on to the card columns. The 6 columns, we are going to use the card columns. So let's get on to. First of all, let's copy this blank div class of space and paste it after the section, so that there is some space available at the bottom. And yeah, you can see there is some space available at the bottom now. Now we proceed on to the card columns. Coming to the card columns, let's first define a section with an ID of, say, showcase, and close that section. So inside that section, so ID of showcase, let's define a container. Come and close the container. Inside this container, let's define a row and close that row. Now inside the row, now we need to define the card columns. Like there are 6 columns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the code for the card columns, like the entire thing for the card columns. I'll copy this and then come and paste it here, and then see whether any changes have to be made here. Like inside the row, we have card columns. Inside that we have card. Like the first div class of card. Now the PB5 means padding bottom 5. Now this I have explained what is the shortcuts and all in my previous videos. So this is a padding bottom 5. So this provides a set padding at the bottom. And then we have the image. Like this is the image we are picking up from the images folder, the selfie point. And then inside that card we have a card block. And inside the card block we have the card title and the text. And then we close down the card block and then the card. Similarly, this is the second card. Now in that second card we have the block quote. We are going to use the block quote and also a footer to the block quote under a class of small. And then we are going to close the footer and then the block quote and then the div of card. This is the third card with a padding bottom of 2. Then inside that we have the image, like this is photo 2. This is the image, and then we have a card block, and inside the card block we have the card title, and then we have the class of card text. Then we have second set of card text with the text muted class. Then you close the card block and then the card. Next we have the fourth card. This also is under a block quote and the text and a footer under the class of small, and then close the class of small and then close the footer and the block quote and then close the div of the card. Next is this is card number 4, and then we have an image inside that, only an image. This is photo 1. You are going to use that image. And then card number 5, you are going to use a card again with the card block of a heading, text and text muted. Then close that card block and close the div class of card. And the sixth card we have is with the padding bottom 3 with the card block and then a card text. Close the card block, close the card, sixth card, and then the card column, then row, and then container and section. This is how the entire description of the card column goes. Let's come and save this now, then see. So this is how the card columns are going to fit inside the page. But before that, we have a heading to be given, like we see here, and also a background color. So for giving the heading, we are going to give it inside the container before the row. And the heading we are going to give is selected from here, like this is the H3. Let's come and paste it here. Okay, save it, and if refresh now, you can see this is how the heading and the text goes to. Now let's define a background color to that. For giving a background color, let's use the ID of showcase. Now coming to the style sheet, let's come and define that ID of showcase. We'll first provide a padding to the top and bottom at 2 rem and 0 on the left and right, and then give it a background color of say FBE 7C7. Yeah, this is the color. Come and save it and refresh. Now here you see we have the background color going right through. So this is how the card columns will look as. If you look a little closer, you will find the last card. There's a gap between the image and the card, whereas these two cards, the text is along with the image. So we'll slightly push this last item card slightly above so that there will be some alignment. To do that, you come to the source code here, and the card we have already given a class of, say, Mukka. Now this class, let's come and define it. Now if I come to the style sheet here and put a dot, paste that code Mukka, and inside this class of Mukka, let's give it a negative margin so that you can push that card a little up. So we say margin to the top, a negative margin of 0.7 rem. Save it and then refresh and see. Now you see that the card has almost come and touched the image. So there is no gap. There's some uniformity is there. But only thing is at the bottom, there is a slight gap. So we push that bottom little down. For that the same card, after the class of Mukka, let's provide it a padding to the bottom by 1. If I come and save this now and refresh, now you can see that the column has come in alignment with the previous 2 columns. The last column, you require the padding to be slightly reduced at the bottom. So as you can see, we have given the padding bottom 3. So let's make it padding bottom 2 and save it and refresh now. Yes, now you find that all the 6 columns are come in alignment. So this is how the columns can be aligned using the card column. Next we move on to the use of card group. Like we have this 3 images to be inserted, the image, heading and the text, and heading at the top with a white background. So coming to the folder, in the travel folder, in the images, in the card group, I have these 3 images. I'm going to use these 3 images in the card group, and their configuration with the dimensions of 2560 by 1920 pixels. These are JPEG files. So I'm going to use this in the card group. So coming to the code here, so after the section, let me use that div class of space so that there is some space available at the bottom. And after that class of space, now first let's define a div ID of say section groups. Come and close that div. Section groups. Okay. Now inside this ID of section group, now let's first define a container, a div class of container, and close the container. Inside the container, now let's insert the heading. The first let's insert the heading. Like here, if you see the original, this is the heading, highlights of Europe. So coming to that, let's use an H3, and here we say highlights of Europe. And after that heading, now let's provide the card group, that we need to provide the images. So first let's define the class of card dash group and close that div. Okay, inside this card group, now let's define the class of card. Close that div of card. Then inside this the class of card, we insert the image. Let's insert the image to imgsrc, and if I browse and come to the images here and the card group, I select the first image, pick one, and then give it an alt description If I say statue at London. Now, having given description, let's also give it a class. Let's give it a class of card-img-top. So close it. Now, if I save this, and now after this image inside the class of card, now we need to define the class of a card block. Let's say card dash block. The block will contain text, heading text, and other areas. So come and close this card block. Okay. Now inside this card block, first let's define that heading of H4. Now the heading that we give here is London. And after that heading, we need to give some text. So let's provide some text inside the paragraph. And the text, I'm going to grab it from here, like London. This is the text. Suppose I copy it from here and then come and paste it inside. Okay. So this is a sample text that I pasted. So this completes the first card of image, heading, and text. So if I save this now and refresh the browser, and you can see we have image, heading, and the text. So let's not go by the width of the image. So let's first come to the next card and see how that will work out. So this card, the entire group of card, we copy it for the second card. So copy it and then paste it for second time and carry out the corrections. Like the picture I want here is pic 2, and pic 2 the description will be, say, Eiffel Tower. Okay, and then here also we come and change the heading. So we will say Paris, and the text, let's change it something like Eiffel Tower in Paris is the most visited monument in France. Okay. Now that we have given the text, the second card is over. Coming to the third one, let's paste it again. And the image, let's change this to picture 3, pic 3. And the description, let's change this to, say, Alps, Switzerland. So this one we will say Switzerland. And the text, let's grab some text for Switzerland from here. Like this is the text if I grab it and then paste it here. Okay. Now pasted the text also. Let's come and save this and then now have a look at it, how the card group will align. Image for the second one, there's some problem here. Pic, oh, it has become 12, sorry, it is pic 2. That's why the image is not visible. Let's save it again and then refresh. Okay, here we are. We have the heading, we have the images, the smaller headings, and the text. Now all this inside this card, suppose we want the heading and the text to center it. So then each of these card, let's give the class of, say, text center and copy this and paste it in the other two. Come to the card and paste it here and then come to the third card and paste it here. Save it now and then refresh and see what difference it makes. Now you can see that all the text heading and the text are properly centered. we need to provide some padding between the heading and the image below. Let's target that heading as 3, and here we provide the class of say padding 3, P3. Come and save it and then refresh the browser and see. Here we are. There is some padding has come about between the heading and the image below. The next we need to give some padding at the bottom. For that we need to target the ID, div ID of section groups. Let's copy this, come to the style sheet here, and then coming to the bottom, here we define that ID and paste that code. Now here we will say we want padding to be 2 rem all around. Save it and refresh. You can see that 2 rem padding has come about at the bottom. So next we need the background color. Like after that card groups, there is a background color which is as applicable to the card columns. So the same background color. Let's come and define it. For doing that, we need to define a new blank div. Name it like space below. The class will copy it. We come to the style sheet and put a dot there and then paste it. And here we will say padding to the top, because we are going to place this at the bottom. To about 4 rem. Save it and then see whether that padding to the bottom has come about. Yeah, a sufficient padding has come about. Now let's define that background color. With the same class, space below, we will define the background, the same color as we had provided here. Let's copy this and come and paste it here. And save it and refresh. Here we have. Now we have the background color. So this completes the card groups 3-column layout. Next we move on to the 4-column layout. Coming to the 4-column layout, you can see here we have an icon, then we have heading, and then we have text. So this is running into 4 columns. So first of all, let's come to the HTML here and start defining the 4 columns. Let's come after the div space below and then define a div ID of, let's call it section dash gallery, and come and close that div of section gallery. Now, inside this div ID of section gallery, now we define the class of container and close the container. Inside the container, we will now define the class of row and close that row. Inside the row now, we need to define the columns. So we will, since we need 4-column layout, so we are going to select a col dash MD dash 3. Now this means for all the viewports above MD, MD, LG and XL, all of them, this is going to be 3 columns running into total 4 columns in the page. So let's close this div now, col MD3. Now inside this col MD3, the first column, first we need to define the icon. Now the icon here what we selected is from Font Awesome. Since you don't have glyphicons in the Bootstrap 4, you will have to download the folder of Font Awesome. Like if you come to fontawesome.io, and here is the download button, so you can download that folder. And also there is a drop down here for icons, and the various types of icons are seen from here. So I have already downloaded the folder. Font Awesome. Like here you see, I have already inserted the folder of Font Awesome. Having done that, now let's come and define that icon. Now the icons are defined as iClass fa, that is Font Awesome, and we say fa. Here I am going to select the first one as plain, and then also give it a bigger size, say 2x. By default it is a smaller size, and we say aria hidden is true. This is for screen readers, and then close that I. Now this is the first icon, the far plain, far 2x, and below this icon, now we need to give the heading. Now the heading will define it as H3 here, and heading we want to give is tours. Now this heading also let's define it a class of say heading dash gallery. We will come to this class later, what all to define it there. So having defined the heading now, next we now define the text below this inside a paragraph. Now the text I am going to take some lorem if some sample text from here and then come and paste it. Okay, now having pasted the text, this completes the first column. But for this Font Awesome icon to be visible, we need to come and define the style sheet and the header. Like if I just save this and then refresh the browser, you will find that the icon is not visible here. That's because we need to add that code before the close of the header. This is the code for linking the style sheet for Font Awesome. If I copy this and then come and paste it here, the style sheet is available inside the Font Awesome folder. There is a CSS folder, and inside that we have the fontawesome.min.css. So if you give this link style sheet and then save it, now you find that the Font Awesome min.css appears here, and then if you refresh the browser now, you will find the icon visible. Now that the icon is there, the heading is there, but the heading, as you see, here the font size is smaller and here the font size is bigger, so we need to target that class. Let's come down here and target that class of heading gallery. Let's copy this and come to the style sheet and put a dot there and paste that code heading gallery, and inside this the curly brackets. Now we will say that we want the font size to be say around 1.2 rem. Save it, and now you see that the font size has now come down for the heading. So as you can see here. So next item for us is to give a color, background color. Like we have this background color to the icons. So for the giving a background color to the icon, as you can see that the icon is sitting inside that class of item. I have defined a class of item, and it is in the I. So we need to target that class of item I. If I target this, and here if I say the color of the font, we want it to be say FB 8919, this color, and then also we want to give it a padding of say 1.2 rem the top and bottom, and 0 on the left and right. So if I save this now and then come and check it up in the browser, Now you can see that the icon has got the color and the padding has come about. So next will be that there is a border on the right side. So we need to build that border. For building the border on the right side, we need to target that class of item, this class. Come to the style sheet back and then target that class of item. And here in the item, let's reduce the font size for the text. Let's say the font size, suppose I make it say 0.8 rem, and then a padding of say 1 rem top and bottom and 0.7 rem on the left and right, and then give it a border. Say border to the right, 1 pixel solid, let's say CCC. If I save this now and refresh, see where the border is come about. Yes, now you can see that the font size has come down. There's a padding between that and there's a border on the right side. So this is the first column. Now similarly we need to add 3 more columns. So let's copy that div class of MD3 and then paste it for the second time, and here the icon from plain I am going to change it to train, and the heading from tours, let's say packages. That's it. And then coming to the third one, let's paste the div again, and the icon from plain, let's change this to say credit card, credit dash card. All these icons are available, font awesome icons. And then coming to the heading, we'll say discounts. And then coming to the last column, the icon, let's change it to say bullseye, and change that heading to say offers. Okay, now that we have the 4 columns ready, let's save it and then come and refresh and then see how they are seen in the page. Okay, here we are. These are the 4 columns with the icons, the heading and the text. The only thing is the padding to the last column, to the right of the last column. This will not be needing. To remove that, let's come to the style sheet and target that column class of item and say last child, and here we'll say border right 0. Save it now and refresh, and you find the border of the right side is gone. So this is how the 4 column layout will be coming about. And next, if you see in the original here, after that 4 column layout, there is the same background color with the padding. So let's copy that class of space below what we had defined earlier. This class, let's copy this, come to the bottom here, and then after that section gallery, let's come and paste it and save it and refresh. Here you see the padding with the background color is visible. So this completes the 4 column layout. So what remains last is the footer. Let's come to that. The footer, as you see, is divided into 3 parts. The left side we have the copyright text, and then we have the navigation items, and then the social icons. Let's come and build that. So coming to the source code here, let's first define footer ID. Let's call it say footer main, footer dash main, and come and close that footer. Inside this footer, now let's define the class of the container. Close the container. Inside the container, let's define the row and close that row. Inside the row, now we need to define the columns. Since there are 3 columns, we are going to define it as column 4, but then we'll define it to the level of SM4. That means all viewports above SM will have 3 columns uniformly, and for XS, the smallest viewport, it will be 12 columns. So let's come and close this, say call SM-4. Right. Now inside this first call SM4, let's define the copyright text. For that, let's give the and copy the code of copyright, and then say copyright, and inside that we define the year of the copyright, and also we can say something like all rights reserved. So this is the first column. Let's copy this now and paste it, and the contents will change it. Now the second column, we have the navigation items, home, achievements, and about. So for use navigation item, let's use the UL class. UL class of, let's say, list unstyled. So this is the unstyled Bootstrap 4 class, list unstyled, and then close that UL. Inside this UL class, now let's define the LIs, list items. So the first list item that we are going to define is home. In addition to that, let's also define it as an anchor reference, say href, say let's leave it at hash at the time being, and then also provide it a class, and the class also we can leave it blank at the moment, and then close the anchor reference. So this is the first list item. Now if I copy this and paste it for the second time and change this to achievements, then post pasting it for the third time, this time we will say it is about. So we have 3 listed items. Let's come and save this, and this call SM4, let's copy this column, entire column, and paste it again and retain the list unstyled items, but the contents let's change, the description let's change to first one say Facebook, because these are social icons, and the second one we will say Twitter, and the last one we will say YouTube. Okay, now that we have defined all the list items, let's come and save this, and if I refresh the browser, you can see this is how the footer will look. Now we need to give some class to the footer and do some styling. To do that, the first let's select the of say ID of footer main. Copy this, come to the style sheet, using that ID, let's define the footer main. First, let's define it a background color. Background, I will give it a RGBA color of say 34, 34, 34, 0.6. And the color of the text, we want it to be white. And font size, let us say 0.8 rem. And then give it a padding of 2.5 rem top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. Let's save this now and refresh. Now you can see the footer has got a background color. The text, the copyright text is here. These are the navigation items, and these are the social icons. These navigation items, social icons, so they are carrying a blue color. So we need to change their color. So for changing the color, you will have to give a class to this column. The second and third column. This second column, you give it a, define it a class, something like social. Now, having defined the class, as you can see that the navigation items are under this class of social, UL, LI, and anchor. So we need to target that. So for that, coming to the style sheet here, if I say social, UL, LI, and anchor item, for this we want the color of this items to be white. Let me save this and then see whether they turn into white. Yes, the items are turned into white. Let's also define them a hover color. So for giving them a hover, let's say same class, social UL LI A. Copy that class here, and the last we will say hover. For hover, we define the color to be, say, black. Save this and refresh again and see whether the hover effect is taking place. Yes, when you hover, you find the items are going black. The next thing is we need to place these items the center of the column instead of at the aligning towards the left. So bring them to the center of the column. Come to the HTML. And the HTML here, columns. Let's define the columns as text center and copy that class text center. Other two, so that the text will be centered in all these columns. So let's save this and then refresh again. Yes, now the text has come to the center. Now we have to give a little more padding between these items. To do that, we need to target the LI. So we say social, UL, and LI. And for the LIs, we define a padding of, say, 0.5 rem. Come and save this now and refresh. Here you are. So we have the copyright item here, and then we have home, achievements, and about, and then Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, the social icons. So this is the original site, and this is what we have now come about in the footer. So this completes the page on travel. As you can see, Bootstrap 4 makes it so very interesting to design some of the beautiful websites, and I'm sure you would like it. Thank you.